In the top stories, amendments to be made to the Special Sustainable Zone Act. Trial of the men accused of assassinating Haiti's president has begun, and the South African government has deployed soldiers to help tackle gang violence and illegal mining. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Major Newscast. Today is Wednesday, the 11th of March. I'm Jason Davis. Nationally, Prime Minister the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew says the Special Sustainability Zones Act is now heading towards amendment after an ad hoc committee appointed earlier this year submitted its recommendations to the federal government. Speaking during yesterday's roundtable, the Prime Minister said the committee's report has already been discussed in Cabinet and will inform changes to the law, with the amendments expected to be presented during the next sitting of the National Assembly.
The government has also received the report of the ad hoc committee that I established in January 2026, which contains sound recommendations for strengthening the ZIZ Authorization Act. Those recommendations have been discussed in Cabinet, and they will result in amendments to the ZIZ Authorization Act, with first reading at the next sitting of the National Assembly.
Dr. Drew said the recommendations are now being evaluated by Attorney General Garth Wilkin, and once that process is completed, the final document will be circulated ahead of parliamentary debate. The Prime Minister made it clear that the review of the Special Sustainability Zones framework is happening alongside federal consideration of the proposed Destiny development in Nevis, which the federal cabinet officially received on the 29th of January. He said the federal government does not have general authority over development in Nevis, since many of those matters fall under the Nevis Island administration and legislature. However, he said the federal government must step in where a project raises questions of immigration, customs, law enforcement, courts, treaty obligations, or any other matter that touches the constitutional responsibilities of the Federation.
The federal government does not have a general power over the development taking place on Nevis. Under the Constitution, Section 106 of the Constitution and Section 119, many of the major issues connected to development on Nevis fall within the authority of the Nevis Island Administration and the Nevis Island Legislature.
Dr. Drew said that is why the process must be careful and deliberate. He said his responsibility as Prime Minister is to ensure that no development approved under the Special Sustainability Zones regime violates the Constitution or infringes on the sovereignty of St. Kitts and Nevis. At the same time, he insisted the review is not meant to stall development. The Prime Minister said two processes are now moving in parallel: the preparation of the amendment to the Act and the establishment of the Oversight Committee that will examine the Destiny proposal and advise the federal government. He said that oversight body will draw on a broad cross-section of professional advice in line with the recommendations of the ad hoc committee. The Prime Minister also pushed back against any suggestion that the federal government is trying to block development in Nevis. He said his administration has consistently supported development on the island, including financial support for geothermal energy, the Vance Amory International Airport, and the sharing of federal resources and CBI proceeds. But Dr. Drew said any project advancing under the Special Sustainability Zones Act must pass a high level of scrutiny given its potential national implications. He said the government is moving prudently, not slowly, and maintained that the timeline for approval cannot be dictated by any investor, but must be guided by law and the national interest. The Department of Community Development participated in the 5th Annual Nevis Youth Career Expo on Friday, March 6. Representatives from the department spent the day engaging with students from the Nevis 6th Form College, Gingerland Secondary School, Charlestown Secondary School, and the Nevis International Secondary School, along with several primary schools from across the island. The display showcased the many ways the department supports community development and social connections throughout Nevis. Students learned about key initiatives including community festivals and cultural events, skills training workshops, the use of community centers, group registration programs, and Camp Refresh. Officials say the expo provided an important opportunity to encourage young people to play an active role in their communities while raising awareness about the resources and programs available through the department. The department also noted that the curiosity and ambition displayed by the students continue to inspire their work as they build stronger and more connected communities on Nevis. Officials say they look forward to more young people participating in community center programs and future workshops. The St. Kitts and Nevis Defence Force is preparing to welcome a new group of soldiers into its ranks. After 8 months of intensive training, the force's newest recruits are set to graduate tomorrow, marking a major milestone in their journey of service to the Federation. Throughout their training, the men and women demonstrated discipline, resilience, and teamwork as they prepared for the responsibilities of military service. The recruit graduation ceremony, which is open to the public, will take place at 4 in the afternoon at the El Camino Willett Park in Nevis. Regionally, prosecutors in the United States say greed, power, and ambition were the driving forces behind the assassination of Haiti's President Jovenel Moïse. Opening statements began on Tuesday in a federal court in Miami in the trial of 4 men accused of plotting the 2021 killing. Archangel Pretel Ortiz, Antonio Intriago, Walter Ventimiglia, and James Solanges are charged with conspiring in South Florida to kidnap or kill the Haitian leader. All 4 have pleaded not guilty and could face life in prison if convicted. Assistant U.S. Attorney Sean McLaughlin told jurors the men believed they could seize power in Haiti and profit from lucrative government contracts. Moïse was shot dead at his private residence near Port-au-Prince on the 7th of July 2021 when a group of foreign mercenaries, mostly former Colombian soldiers, stormed the compound. Prosecutors alleged that the group initially backed Haitian-American Dr. Christian Sanon as a potential successor to Moïse and expected to receive security and infrastructure contracts once he took power. The defense, however, argues their clients were misled into believing they were participating in a legitimate plan to arrest the president. Lawyers claim the group was acting under what they believed was a valid warrant and were unaware of any plan to assassinate Moïse. The court heard testimony on Tuesday from Moïse's widow, Martine Moïse, who was wounded during the attack. The trial is expected to last more than 2 months. Still on the regional scene, opposition leader Dr. Ralph Gonsalves says the court petitions challenging 2 members of the government in St. Vincent and the Grenadines are serious matters and should not be dismissed as frivolous. The petitions, filed in the High Court in Kingstown, challenge the eligibility of Prime Minister Dr. Godwin Friday and Minister of Foreign Affairs Dwight Fitzgerald Bramble. The cases question whether their alleged Canadian citizenship would disqualify them from serving as members of Parliament under the country's constitution. Prime Minister Friday earlier described the petitions as frivolous after a case management hearing last Thursday, saying the matter was taking up public time and resources. But speaking on his weekly radio program on Monday, Gonsalves rejected that characterization. He said the matter raises important constitutional questions and must be properly determined by the courts. Gonsalves also referenced the New Democratic Party's challenges to the 2015 general elections, which he said were pursued for years before eventually collapsing. He added that the current petitions will not be dragged out and that the petitioners have instructed their lawyers to move the matter along quickly. According to Gonsalves, the case will first be determined in the High Court, with any appeal then expected to go to the Court of Appeal. Internationally, South African soldiers have been deployed on the streets of Johannesburg as the government steps up efforts to tackle gang violence and illegal mining. The military presence was seen on today in the suburb of Riverlea, where convoys of army vehicles arrived and soldiers moved into residential buildings as part of the operation. The deployment comes after President Cyril Ramaphosa announced last month that the army would be used to support police in combating organized crime. Authorities say an initial force of 550 soldiers has been sent to Gauteng province, which includes Johannesburg. The troops will operate under police command and are expected to remain deployed until at least the end of April. The government plans a wider operation across 5 of South Africa's 9 provinces. The mission will target illegal mining in Gauteng, Northwest and Free State provinces, while gang violence will be a focus in the Western Cape and Eastern Cape. South Africa continues to face high levels of violent crime. Police reported more than 603,000 homicides between October and December of 2025, an average of nearly 70 killings a day. President Ramaphosa said the deployment was carefully considered but had become necessary because organized crime is threatening public safety and the authority of the state. Still on the international scene, centuries of British political tradition are set to end now Parliament has voted to remove hereditary aristocrats from the House of Lords. The upper chamber of Parliament on Tuesday dropped its final objections to legislation that will oust dozens of dukes, earls and viscounts who inherited their seats along with their titles. The change will end the practice of automatically granting parliamentary power through hereditary privilege. Government Minister Nick Thomas Simmons said the reform puts an end to what he called an archaic and undemocratic principle. The House of Lords plays a key role in Britain's parliamentary system, reviewing and scrutinizing legislation passed by the elected House of Commons. But the institution has long faced criticism for being too large and not fully democratic. The chamber currently has more than 800 members, making it the second largest legislative body in the world after China's National People's Congress. And now for a look at the weather. The weather across St. Kitts and Nevis is generally cloudy, with the possibility of rain in some areas. Winds are expected to be a gentle breeze from the east at about 10 miles per hour. Seas are moderate, with waves of about 5 to 7 feet. For today, conditions will be partly cloudy with a 40% or moderate chance of passing showers. Tonight, skies will remain partly cloudy with a 60% or moderate chance of passing showers. Sunset this evening will be at 6:20 p.m. and sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:21 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Major Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jason Davis.